Uh-oh.
Today's guest is the legendary bassist and educator Mike Boone, a cornerstone of the Philadelphia jazz scene. Born in New York City, Mike studied at Eastman and toured with artists such as the Buddy Rich Big Band. He then settled back in Philadelphia, where he played with icons, including Trudy and Shirley Scott. He spent over 16 years as part of the iconic Haus trio at Ortlieb's Jazz House and currently teaches at Temple University. Mike's latest release came out about a month ago. It's called Mike Boone Family and Friends Confirmation. And looking forward to talking with him today. So, Mike, good to see you. And we're live.
Good to see you, Abe. It's very humbling. You're reading that, that bio, and it's like, wow, it's just kind of feels, yeah. Thank you for your interest in having me, and thank you for what you're doing. First of all, yeah, I'm gonna give you your flowers right away before you even start about me. You said you're gonna be in a while, right? I appreciate you doing this. We talked a little bit beforehand about these times, and we have our assignments, and you're like doing what you're doing. Obviously, a labor of love. Nobody's like, you don't have a barrel full of money, or maybe you do. I don't know about it. But
That would be nice.
that would
I
be
would,
nice.
yeah.
I think
And I
you
would,
really
if I had it, I would say it. I
yeah, I
wouldn't
would,
care.
but the fact that you do and you take it upon yourself, and I think and the folks that you seek out. So I just want to get that, like I said, I just want to really, I do appreciate that. So I may interject those type of things from time to time, but I just want to at least get that first one in. So
No, no, I appreciate it. We spoke on the phone for about an hour and a half, maybe a few weeks ago. We talked about the world of jazz. Everyone is complaining about the jazz scene. We need change. We need reform. Things need to change. I mean, I've been hearing this for the last 15 years, at least since I started working in the industry. But like, it's everyone says change, change, change. But when you think about change, what comes to your mind, if first and foremost, that needs to happen for the music to grow and just for the whole overall scene to be healthier?
Jesus, great question. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, first of all, I've been blessed to still try to play this music and try to play. I'm 68 years old. I'll be 69. Lord, but yeah, I mean, just to be playing, a lot of professions, like certainly the sports professions, I think that comes to mind. It's a short window. You get in there early and you get out. If you're lucky, maybe you might coach or teach, or maybe if you're a person that's got some kind of personality, you may do something in there. So it might have been related so you can kind of survive. I would say the vast majority of those folks, they got to figure out, hopefully they live off of what they did. And because physically they can't do what they said. Music, it's a little less. I mean, it's a lot harder for me to do what I did 40 years ago, but music is a thing that keeps going and you always get better if you really put the time in. And the bar has been set so high with such great music, and you're just trying to be relevant. So in that aspect, as long as you have breath in your life, breath in your body, and enough strength to try to play the instrument and do it effectively, that's just an ongoing thing. So that's one
Well,
part.
yeah, we're all students, which is what
We're all students,
we
yes.
we we said that on the phone because people get some accolades or they get some awards or they get more
Hmm.
gigs, but and overall their confidence changes and there may not be the same person they used to, but the best of the best of the best of the best all made mistakes in this music one way or another, and we're all students. Like you're never done. Anyone who thinks they're done is dead.
Well, yeah, I mean that's well. I think most people realize that, but the lure of success, and then I mean you got to understand. I mean, I was here when we had black and white TV. I was here when cell I was here when phones were plugged, when you had phones were plugged into a wall. I was just now. I hate to go back to that. I'm gonna tie this all in what needs to be done, but stuff was just more hands on. So jazz education or all that's a phenomenon that's come about in the last maybe 50, 60 years, and that's infiltrated the actual aesthetic of the music. Maybe some of it necessarily so. I don't want to start bashing, but
No,
I think
I agree that a lot of the education can be very misleading in terms of what people can do, like on the bandstand or in a career.
yeah, that's one aspect of it. And then, so that's but that's and then that came about maybe what I would say maybe late '60s. I think of colleges like North Texas State with under Dr. Leon Breeden, and he had those like lab bands, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. They would do
Right.
these. Like, I don't know if you remember that song, the Hose,
Yeah.
but they were out there, and a lot the Lizards, I think they used to call themselves. University of Miami, a lot of Berkeley was definitely ahead of the curve in terms of music and just the industry part of it. That was always there, but that kind of entered. They that and academia. I think at some point they kind of fuck it. I'm gonna say it. They got into bed with each other, and I'll just say what I remember watching the Grammys.
Well, first of all, let me just say you could say whatever you want. There's
Okay, good. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Because I'm just gonna go in there, and like I said, this is just what needs to be changed. I have to lay the groundwork for what I think happened before I can talk about what needs to be changed.
Sure,
And,
sure.
try to clock me on this, but this is important. I don't know if you remember the year that Esperanza won the Grammy.
Oh, in the 2000, what was it, 2010 or I don't know, around that
Well, yeah,
time.
so it was around then. So was it 2025, right? So let's say 2010. Let's say 12, but somewhere like at least 10, at least over 10. I just remember like the competition that she had, and actually, I don't know if you remember. Before that, there was like almost a 5 minute ad that Berkeley had took out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like a lot of times with the artists that would win or be nominated, they would actually have play some singles or some stuff that they were involved with. But this particular year, Berkeley had actually taken out an ad where they were talking about their school and all this kind of stuff, and then just interspersed with all the other ads for other stuff going on. And I thought, okay, whatever, that's cool. And I guess was one of their students or is a contestant, so that made sense. I mean, that wasn't like a big and it's like, wow, I'm looking at the competition. And, of course, Esperanza, I mean, it's amazing. You're singing and play at the same time. You're female, you're biracial. You kind of got a lot of stuff lining up. You're very talented, but all that other stuff's going. You got college educated, and there's an ad that's there. That's just part of the, I guess they had to pay whatever. And then they start to announce the winner. I'm thinking, damn. And the people that she was up against, was like, they were all right, but she was clearly the most talented, I thought, personally, and I'm sure a lot of other folks thought, and I think, damn, she could possibly win this thing. And then they announced the winner. It was like, part of me, yeah, I jumped up and joined. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then part of me just said, whoa, slow down. What just happened here? Oh, okay. And I'm thinking back to the commercial and whatever. And then she wins, and it's like, and then whenever that was at 10,000, 2010, 2012. So fast forwarding up to now, I see where a lot of folks have, you know, just the rise of these new stars were just. I don't know. I mean, I just saw that as a merger of the industry, into the academia, because okay, this is the first time. I don't know. I guess Pat Metheny probably won a Grammy back then, or so. But this was the first obvious like byproduct of academia. For lack.
Okay, yeah, best new artist for 2010.
Is that what it was? Okay, so right, perfect. Okay, thank you. So it was like, and like I said, I wasn't like a hate. I'm not hating. I'm just saying in hindsight, I just saw, wow, okay, like that was a good thing, but then is it really a good thing? It's like, okay, now what are we doing? So now they're going to be looking. So now you got to go to school if you're going to be heard. So it's almost like or somewhere Berkeley would help, but obviously, and then from that time on, obviously, you've had a lot of schools before 2010, but it's just all been an increase. And every artist that has come out since then, as I would say 90 over 90% has come from some institute of higher learning. I mean, I don't know. That's just a theory I have. I have a lot of different theories, as folks may know, I just kind of, so I just saw that as a telling sign. And then, and then I look at what's happened with the music. It's a lot of stuff that's kind of open ended. And then at the same time, you have a lot of traditionalists that are just trying to sound like. So it's weird. It got compartmentalized, and people are trying to sell records. Artists just calling yourself an artist at 20 something years old was like, I mean, okay, Mozart was an artist. Okay,
Mhm.
Stevie Wonder was an artist. Okay, Prince was. I mean, there's levels to this shit. And it's like I don't know. I think the bar's been kind of, and this is not just the Esperanza or those kind of folks. I'm just saying when that happened, I think that was some kind of merger of sorts. Does that make any sense to you at all?
So when she won Best Artist, in a sense that the parameters were set of what jazz could be based on that, and that changed everybody's whole direction and just made an influence that people thought, I don't know, maybe people thought their career was going to be something they're not, or maybe it became more driven for the wrong reasons, in a sense. It could something related to that.
I don't know, maybe part of that, but just the fact that it's like, okay, I don't know, maybe that's just my personal thing. I don't know about because her music ended up morphing into some other kinds. I mean, when she came along, she was kind of I wouldn't say basic, but I mean, she played the bass and she sung and she played at the same time. But then she started doing stuff with, I'm sorry for all this, Milton Nascimento and just going in like different directions, like orchestrally and just moving away from jazz in a weird kind of way. And that's her choice. I think, her winning the Grammy probably certainly allowed her to experiment, and do some different things and bring some different, ideas together. But I just the idea that her coming from that background and just knowing that everybody has to come through and that corridor and get degrees, and there's a lot of folks like yourself that have actually have master's degrees. And it's like I don't know. I mean,
And
it's
that's another conversation about music school, is that this is something else I've been thinking about. Every that music school, a lot of them, they say just learn how to play, learn to be the best that you can on your instrument, and then like kick you out the door, and you're going to be just fine. When in reality, most people they once they leave, they completely stop playing. They change careers almost within like a year or two because they realize, oh, I thought because I had the degree that things were just going to be happening to me. Whether it was I was going to be playing at certain places, I was going to be getting a record deal, I was going to be getting accolades, I would be having more access to teaching jobs. I mean, the list can go on and on of what they thought was going to be the case. So there's that component too. But in reality, they don't teach you any entrepreneurial skills whatsoever in in most music programs. At least I didn't learn, about those things. I learned just from being out there
uh-huh.
in the real world. And just because you went to music school does not mean anything whatsoever. Because once you get out there into the real world and you play in front of people, like good luck, because you're on a whole other your mindset is you are in
Well,
a totally different your consciousness is just in a different realm altogether when you play for people. So they
well,
don't there's that too.
well, you touched on that. The playing for people while I mean, as a professor, I mean, that's an interesting phenomenon that folks have come along. I feel that now to answer the question of what needs to be done, I think in order in order to implement what's been learned in the classroom, that needs to be coupled with actually performing live in a real place where real people are, where people that aren't, fellow music
And
students,
not just
people
once in 4 years or twice in 4 years.
no, that needs to be like I mean, I would, if I had that bucket of money that that we wished we had, or if I had to write the curriculum, I would say they would at least once a week or at least twice a month. They would have to, maybe I would say weekly. They would have to go to
It
these
could go
jam,
from like once a month to twice a month, and
whatever it is, but it would
whatever it
have to be
is
something semi-regular. I mean,
regularly.
I don't, it's enough. I mean, you play every day. You need to put that into practice. You go to school 5 days a week. You can't like maybe every 10 days or every 2 weeks, you actually go somewhere and you play these tunes, or you actually do, you actually in front of a place where professional people, there's a level of that musicianship because of that place, that room that holds that music. And here you go. And now you try to do it. I mean, obviously there's going to be some folks.
Even if they had the musicians set up in a place where just in a public setting where people were passing by, but they had to
That would
go
help
there.
too.
They
Just yeah, the point is you're playing for other, which gets me to you're playing for an audience. I
right.
don't think what music, thank you, Lord, what music school doesn't really teach you about, in addition to the entrepreneurial things, the main thing to me, my pet peeve, is they really don't tell you about the audience, the people you're playing for. Now that's going to involve, there's people that they don't know what you're doing. They don't care. They just know they're going to like it. They don't like it. They just want to feel good. They don't want to think about it. We we as musicians, they don't teach that part of music. Thank you. They teach us all the nuts and the math and stuff, but they don't teach us the stuff that what we do, even when we're making mistakes, even when we're messing up stuff. Just if it's honest, they don't teach us about the honesty with that energy that goes back and forth that the audience is depending on. I don't know. Now maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I know for me, I try to get my students out there. When on my monthly gigs at Smalls, like a lot of times I've had students, that to play. Hopefully they're at a certain level, and we just go out there. What better way to play, and also make sure I tell people record yourself, video, audio. Just make sure you can hear yourself back.
You're so generous to do that. Let me just say first, like that's just so generous of you to give those musicians the opportunities because
it's thank you, but it's not. It's not. Back in the day, that's what they did. That's what they did. That's what they did. That's what Blakey made a career. I don't know, maybe generous is a certain, but just in terms of getting the experience from the younger guy, I wouldn't say Blakey was generous. I wouldn't say Horace Silver was generous. But they at least understood that energy and that synergy, that back and forth. And then there's a lot of guys that also, and ladies, that just understood the passing up. I mean, I guess when they were coming up, they had some elders. That whole, you don't learn that in school because you're learning like recordings from what these people already grown. You didn't know about their family. You didn't learn the human stuff. You didn't, which involves and we got a little piece of that. You got, so that's so yeah. I mean, that's what I should be doing that.
I know. I think it's generous. I mean, that's just the way I see it from the outside.
Well, thank you. I wish more people were generous like I am. I'm more in my position, but to be fair, I wish some of us had more of the opportunity to be in that position that we could do that. I think we get caught up in ourselves. We all get caught up in just me, and putting out the product. I know for me, I know I'm jumping around, and you can't. You can't edit this.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. We're just speaking.
Okay, good. Well, this album is called Friends and Family. I've decided, and then the title of the album is Confirmation, which is the bird tune. But I wanted to call it that for that reason. It's not just all stars. It's not just whatever. These are people. Most of these people. I mean, some of them I just met for the first time, but the core group are literally friends and family. I mean, my son's on the date. Folks I've known for years. Ben Vereen, the entertainer, he was my first employer. Tony Ventura, who's actually the son of Charlie Ventura, who's been not doing stuff in Delaware, but a wonderful guitarist. So I got a chance to just get a bunch of folks, I guess from my past or whatever, just folks that also understood that, and that's important. So,
can I ask you a question? Actually, this brings me. This is something I've been thinking about. I want to know your opinion about it.
Okay.
We can, without even realize it, get locked into only working with, a certain number of players. Like for years, for me, I had the same number of bass players and the same number of drummers I would call to play trio. And then like, I don't know what happened. I guess through doing this podcast and speaking to people, I kind of like said, what the fuck am I doing? And then I'm like, so now I'm going to break this down for you. Like I booked 5 gigs in Jersey at the same place. Basically, I called different people for every one of them.
God bless you.
People in their 20s, people in their 30s. Like I'm just trying to be as diversified as possible in terms of. I'm thinking about the age, believe it or not, because you got to give the younger people an opportunity. I
How
could
old
push
are you,
them.
by the way?
I'm almost 38. Almost 38.
I got a couple of kids older. No, but it's relative. I'm 68, you're 38, and you got 18-year-olds, and they, so yeah, you dig what I'm saying? You already see the.
Oh yeah, no, I'm playing with someone coming up, and he's I think he's 20 or something like that, But it's like I mean, that's almost like half my lifetime already. So, but that's the point. I mean, even just thinking about musicians, even just saying like we need to be more generous as a community, pass opportunities to each other, which I think is a problem. I don't know where it comes from. I think it comes from maybe all the different cliques and the dichotomies of the music. Like you see people who want to play like more, traditional, people who play the bebop tunes, people who play. I think we get like brainwashed into thinking we're like all different, but we're really all the same, and everyone has something to contribute. And this is what I'm talking about. Like bring everybody into whatever you're doing. Bring as many people as possible. It's only going to help everybody.
That's the well, if Yeah, and then I woke up. No, I'm just kidding. No, but the point is,
That's the way I mean, that's the way I felt, you know.
but in a perfect world, or just like I mean, you're thinking like somebody with some. That's not. You're thinking from a we perspective, and as opposed to a me perspective.
Right.
And if you just look at the letter M, if you flip it upside down, you get we. So all it is just a change of mind because we. Thank you, Lord. We is going to help me every single
You're
time
right. Yeah.
because me is part of we. Oh, damn, I just said some stuff. But you know what I'm saying? So that's what I do at the jam. I mean, that's the idea. That's how you learn. I mean, that's how, yeah. I mean, because those younger guys and ladies, they're I feel like the younger people, it's almost like they've been born with a USB port. Like they're already.
Have musicians that, you know, or expressed to you musicians, you know, personally that you giving those younger musicians opportunity, do they have any problem with it on any level? Has anyone ever expressed anything to you about that? Just curious.
No, I mean everybody's pretty cool. I mean,
Okay.
I mean the younger musicians, they for the most part, I think they get it and they love me because, like I say, unfortunately, it seems like I'm in a small minority of older guys that are just doing what I'm doing. I know Eric Wyatt, who you talked to. He's
Oh, my man,
your
Eric.
man. That's my man too.
Yeah.
Sometimes we butt heads, but we befriended each other probably about 10 years ago, as a matter of fact. And the same thing. I watched what he was doing. I would see his name in the paper, and I would see him, and I said, "Wow, that's kind of." He seems like he's doing a similar thing, in Brooklyn over there, like I'm doing. And then we ended up a couple of guys that I guess I were their like mentors. They as they went to New York because most people you go to New York you try to make. They ended up like hooking up with Eric, so we kind of found our way, and I ended up befriending him and bringing him down to Philly. He ended up putting me and my son on one of his albums that ended up going up to number 3, and we maintained a friendship. So yeah, we're like there's only a handful of. I'm sure there are others, but if
Well,
I
they're in the position to do it. They just aren't
they
doing
just
it.
don't. But you know why? I think, and okay, let's get here. A lot of these folks are like, maybe they're like a little my age, maybe a little younger. 20, 30 years ago, they were like on the scene playing. They were hitting with like some of the legends that are, because back then, a lot more of those guys were around. I mean, I played with Buddy Rich in the 80s. A lot of folks that had those gigs in the 80s, 90s, maybe up to 2000. Those folks are now in their mid 50s now, maybe late 40s up to early 60s. They're now professors at these universities, most of them. Some of them even running the universities. I mean, Terrell Stafford, runs Temple. I've known
Mhm.
Terrell since the mid 90s. Sorry about that, Tim. So I've known these people, they came through Ortlieb with you know Shirley, Scott, and Mickey, and those. So I've seen that transformation from like whatever new young lion, if you will, to like hanging out to a solo career, and now we're like still doing career stuff, but we've morphed into this teaching thing once again, going back to the Esperanza winning, 15 years ago, seeing how the marriage, how or just the natural link. Okay, if you're playing, you can slide right over. Or actually, you could do both. A lot of those professors are still actively touring. So I think, and this is just me, and this is not coming from a hate position because I've been blessed to do some touring. If I really wanted to push that envelope or that, that thing, promo thing for myself, I probably would do a little bit more. But I think a lot of these guys are number one. I don't know. I think they want to keep a distance, between their students, like almost kind of like the distance that when they were like sidemen with like the Art Blakeys or the Freddie Hubbards or those kind of guys. I mean, we knew those were the guys, and these were the sidemen. Now they've like been elevated. Those guys are no longer here, so now they're professors.
What about they? How about so do you feel like some of those people might think they're, oh, I already put in my time, so I don't need to associate myself with this younger person. It
That's
could be some
part.
of the.
Yeah, I think that's some of it, and although they got a gig because one of these older guys put them on. I mean, so it's a little bit of hypocrisy there. Also because of the competition, because there's so many great younger players, and then the hype.
Who could smoke some of them on the bandstand, you know?
Well, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And that's the other thing. So I think some of these motherfuckers are just playing scared. I mean, they'll get on the band. Okay, like I play a small, and a lot of people they take smalls for granted, but for me,
Why would they do that? That's crazy.
well, because it's like it's a small little because it's small. It
It's
ain't
the
fun.
no, but it's the Mecca.
Yeah, but it ain't. Dizzy's place. It ain't the Vanguard, which is literally a stone's throw away. It ain't the Bim House in Netherlands. It
But it's the
ain't.
most inclusive jazz club in the
Yes,
world.
you and I know that, and they know that. But the point is, and why, and partly why that is, I don't mean to, is because of the transparency. The
Okay.
fact that you can't hide in that motherfucker. The fact that
There's no
it's like
hiding.
everybody's come through there. The fact that there are 3 cameras live streaming and have been so ever since the place was open 30 to the rest of the world that would like that could tune into you like at a whatever. So if you're supposed to be this cat, this professor, you don't want to take the chance of messing up.
Right.
So if you do play a place like that, trust me, you're gonna come in there fully rehearsed with your boys, your fellow professors most of the time, or maybe some select few. It's going to be like an all-star type of band. The good thing about Spike, I mean, everybody gets paid. No, I don't know if most people get paid the same money. You're not making a lot. So some people may think, well, it's beneath me financially. I get that, but at the same time, but huh,
We
I'm a
gotta we gotta work. We gotta
we
work.
got work, and he's got to spread it. But I think a lot of it is just
A
folks.
lot of people also come from money. Like that's what people, people just have money, like whether it's some sort of inheritance
Yeah, so
or
you don't have to worry
yeah,
about
they
that.
don't have to worry about it. But like, we need to work, whatever. Who cares how much we need to work,
Well,
point
and
blank.
to play, and we also need to play in front of.
Right.
And
Right.
that's where a place like Smalls comes in because it's like a multi-purpose place, and it's very transparent in that multi-purposeness. And I think that intimidates some folks. I mean, these motherfuckers will come in the back and hang out and maybe vibe folks, and while the younger guys in front want to play, like, oh my god, somebody's out in the audience listening. That whole funny thing that goes on. I'm not saying they all do, but I've seen that in my sessions. And then or some so it's like I get it. My thing is like, and I would like to think if I were more famous, I would still want to engage and do what I do. Because originally when I had this gig, I thought, well, I can get like all these guys, and then I said, well, no, let me just try to get some people that are worthy, some people that nobody's going to call, but on a given night, anybody on a given night, any given Sunday, you know what I
That
mean?
one time I got offered a gig at a really big club. I'm not going to mention the name of it just because I don't feel like it.
Uh-huh.
And the guy who was presenting the gig, he said, "Yeah, no, you can do it, but like I want you to hire X, Y, and Z." And I said, and I had some chutzpah. Like I was like 25 years old. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not doing it. There's
Uh-huh.
no. I'm like, no. I just refused. Which is, it's funny to think about because at the end of the day, you know, younger, older, we're all in this world we're all trying to do it, and no one is done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the thing is, you got people that are controlling the fact that somebody told you, and once again, that's nothing new.
Oh yeah,
Right?
it's nothing new, right? Yeah.
Yes. The point is that there's probably a non-musician or somebody that's not going to be on that damn bandstand when you get there is telling you who to play your music with. Like that's going to automatically make your music, and maybe in some cases, with some rehearsal, whatever. I mean, not to negate the superstars or the main cast. I mean, they got there because they can play,
Right.
obviously. So we
Mhm.
get that, and everybody's entitled to whatever compensation. But that's the problem. There's so many. It's like the market is flooded, and if you're old, it's like you've already had your 15 minutes of fame, and this world is looking for the next person. It's like flavor of the month. I refer to it as the Baskin Robbins mentality that's always permeated. So how do you stay afloat? So I know for me, maybe some of it is like making sure that I'm around some younger folks and also some maybe older folks, some folks my age, just trying to keep it going that way and not really worried so much about trying to chase and that thing. I mean, I'm blessed that I got in this game early. I don't know if I could hang it if I was going to college now. Like I look at my son, he's a freshman. I mean, I'm glad he's wired up for this shit. I don't know if I could do it, to be honest, but I think he'll be okay. Like I said, these younger folks, they already know about social media. They're computer savvy. They were already, they're
That
already
brings me
set.
to my next point, actually, because I've been thinking a lot about what needs to change, which is that it's a lot of it is we talk about social media. A lot of what we see on what people are doing is merely an illusion. They're what they have is not what it really appears to be on the outside. Like they might be all playing this gig and X, Y, and Z, but no one's there. Like let's just be honest, when no one was there, you know,
Right. Well,
stuff like
well, the thing is, it's like, and you got, well, thank goodness. I mean, you got cell phone, you got cameras in your cell phone, so you
yeah.
have photo op. I mean, and then once again, photo ops are nothing new. These are just digital. These are just contemporary things
I
that
listen. I played plenty of gigs where no one's been there. Believe me. I believe me.
you know what I bet they probably, and you know what, and
yeah.
I bet they've been probably musically probably some of the best gigs you've had.
Oh, easy. I love when no one was
You
there.
know what I'm saying? For whatever reason. So even though you want people to be there, it's weird. I mean, but you still played, right?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like
Always.
I mean, I talked about the audience, but it's like it's what we do is just so
That
like
does something to you also when you're expecting an audience to be there and they're not there, or maybe one or two people, and it's you get that feeling like in your chest, and you're like, I'm gonna do it, and you need to
I'm gonna
push.
do it anyway. Or even it's like when these two people came, and sometimes you actually kick it out even more
Yeah.
because they. So it kind of works. So the point is, actually, we get to my earlier point is how we got into music. We didn't play. We were listeners first.
hmm
And I think we need to get back to that infant stage where you first heard a guitar player that moved you, where I first heard a bass or in my case piano, where you first or you first heard the music, and we
hmm
need to recapture that feeling, that youthful feeling. Actually, it never really should have gone away. That's
Well,
what
the scene does something to people.
it does, but you got to fight that.
Yeah, I
You got,
know. I mean, but it can take, once you get locked in or
yeah,
it can really do something to you, to your mental health, you know what I mean, to your overall outlook on what's health. It could be transformed to a very negative outlook, which I want, there's also the other thing I've been thinking about too was if like let's say you're playing a gig and with somebody, I feel like let's say someone fucked up or in one way or another, like you would pull them to the side after the gig and tell them what was going on, be honest, but to like publicly shame them and humiliate them can like which is what a big part of the culture was too,
yeah,
is a
exactly.
part of the problem too.
And that's well, once again, before you had academia, before you had certainly before you had apps and play-alongs and then recording devices. That's what it was. You played. I mean, the pros played in front of the audience of folks, whatever they were doing. And if you were invited on the bandstand, it was you had already listed. Thank once again going back, you just come up there. You were already spending. They were already saying, "Oh, he looks like he's interested." So you had already spent some time. Chances are just listening to these cats, before having the nerve to come up there because you knew what you heard. You listened and you were trying to work it out. And then when you got up there, it was like, oh shit. I mean, back in the day, there were stories of, I mean, maybe way before my time, where somebody in the audience might grab you and beat your ass, if you
Yeah,
did
yeah,
that
yeah.
job. Because the point is, it was that important to people. And once again, the listener, you have somebody in the audience that knows that music upside down just as well as that the people on the bandstand. They
so
they don't
so
play an instrument, but if they were that familiar, if they were hung out every night with those same cats, they came there after, you know what I'm saying? The audience, so some of the audiences, were educated, but that's the point, So yeah, but you can't do that. There's a thing called being politically correct, and I know for me, people would like, they would say I was kind of hard, and I could kind of see that, but they don't understand. First of all, I work with Buddy Rich, so if a lot, so if you know anything about his thing, so I'd have to have a little bit of a thick skin to
right.
deal with him. But just the older folks in general, they were just like they were a lot. I will get, I've gotten looks. I've had people, like not too many, but I've seen people do that, and
Well, there's tough love, but then there's also like it can go to another level.
well, I've done the tough love thing, and that I've done that on the bandstand. Unfortunately, sometimes I've done that, and but what I've done, if that's the case, what if something happened? I might have yelled at somebody. Then after the thing was over, then I'd go to that person because I don't want to leave them like with that trauma because that's kind of a trauma thing, and that's not for everybody. And that's once in a while. That's if something is really and it's been out for a while. Then I might say, okay, now this is what happened. I mean, I don't leave them out there like that. Some of those guys, they're the older guys did traumatize some of the younger guys, maybe not on purpose. I think sometimes on purpose.
My mentor traumatized me unquestionably.
Okay, I think you said, and that's the messed up thing too. Once again, trying to keep that distance. See,
And it's like, it traumatized me to the point where it's like now he's dead now. You know what I mean? And
well,
I never really spoke about it publicly until, because he was still, even after I graduated Berkeley in 2008. He was still like sending me nasty emails up to 2019, 2020. So
what a sad what a sad professor.
yeah, but
What is
that's the
I
thing.
mean,
It's
and
out
that
there.
I mean, I don't God, I would and that's well, that's wrong. What do you think he owns you or something? That's the other thing. They like, do I have to call you a professor outside the gig where I'm actually piping you? Where I'm actually playing better than you? Do I still got to call you professor 3 years after we graduated? I mean, when does that title end?
Exactly.
So I kind of laugh at that, even though, and I don't mean to diss my fellow professor. But I, professors, the word profess, which means you talk. Anybody can talk. Call me practitioner. I'll use the same, first two letters, but call me a practitioner. I'll profess because obviously I can talk, but let's get on the bandstand and we'll talk the music in
Yeah.
front of these people because they got to listen to it. There's a dialogue. You're going to get better. What I learned was mostly in part was doing that. Some of it was in the classroom, but most of it was on that bandstand.
You got the best education of all. You played at Ortlieb's regularly with Byron Landham and Sid Simmons.
Oh my God. I mean, just those two guys. I mean, just they were like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned them. Wow. It's like I I've developed my musical personality or whatever that is based on what they had already developed and were developing as time was going on. You got to keep in mind, Shirley was still around, Bootsy was still around, Arthur, Mickey, Bob, that those main guys, Jimmy Oliver, those guys that were part of that infrastructure, that jazz infrastructure,
Sure.
we were like kind of like grad students, I think. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Even though we would sub, but they were the ones. We were kind of like next in line, whatever. We were like, and we were maybe a little bit more modern. Like I say with Byron at 16, he already had his ride cymbal. Sid was already, he had they had sounds. They were already Sid had put in time with, Philly Joe and Grover Washington. He made the decision to leave Grover and leave that whole music that he was making some money to play acoustic jazz. So these guys were like they were on their way. They were searching. So I come along in the middle. I said, well, what the fuck do I? How do I had to figure something out. So they definitely helped me. So like I said, there was a learning. We all were learning. We were playing, and cats were coming down, and there were younger guys that were up under us, like like I guess folks like Orrin Evans. I mean, he comes to mind. You know, the Little Shaw, maybe Jonathan Blake's, Rodney Green, for sure, the drummer. I mean, we raised his ass. A couple of people that we literally kind of, pushed to Anwar Marshall, who's now playing with Marcus Miller. I mean, I'm not to name, but there was folks that are, now they're in the mix.
Yeah,
And they're
definitely.
going to be old one day, and they're going to be professors if they're not already. You know what I'm saying? So we caught, we really caught a good. So I feel like I'm pretty equipped to do whatever I do.
No,
I'm
I feel
still
like
I'm
you're
still
equipped.
working on.
You're equipped for for pretty much anything at this point.
I'm just trying to, like I say, I'm just trying to get better, and I'm just trying to be cool. I'm trying to make sure everybody has a shot. I'm not trying to be like some other folks I see. I'm trying to be,
Well, what do you mean when you say some other when you say some other folks I see? What qualities are you referring
well,
to?
I see like folks that are trying to like once again just be just egotistical, just trying to make like their shit is the only shit. Like folks that are just like kind of maybe some folks that are complaining, like that maybe they didn't get their boat, they didn't get their. I mean, there's some of us older folks, we can be gripey, we can, like, well, I put this guy on, and
Or it could just be you're just you're honest. You just get wiser with age, and you're just not afraid to speak your mind because
well, that's the thing, and
by
it's
people pleasing, like you suppress a lot of shit. You know what I mean? And then it
well,
gets enough.
Well, after I almost died last year, I don't really. I mean, I never really did, but it's like, what's it going to do? I mean, there's enough in this big world for all of us. And
Definitely.
once again, if the back to the friends and family, if you've got that, which I would like to think I'm blessed too, they're going to be okay. And as long as I do my part, as long as I show up and I show up right, and I show up with the attitude, I'm not better than anybody. If you want to if you think I got something to teach, I'll teach you. Or if you think I'm worth to play, or if you might have seen me, if I definitely have musical receipts. I put that in quotation in terms of accomplishments. So if you saw that, fine. I mean, I'm not.
Are you playing the amount you want to be playing on the like per month, or do you want to do a little more or a little
Like
less?
that. I
Like,
mean, I would maybe a little more, maybe 20% more. I'm doing a
okay,
little less than I did in bed, but I'm doing okay. The quality, I like what I'm doing. It's not a lot of visual things. A couple of gigs are kind of like out there. Like actually, at the end of the month, I'm playing at well, it's a temple gig. TPAC, our Performing Arts Center. We're playing, and the special guest is Randy Brecker.
what day is that?
That is, I believe that's Wednesday, the 26th.
Okay, of
Of March.
March. Okay.
Yeah, March. This is March already. Yeah, exactly. It's time, and it's funny because I actually played with him back in 1977 when I was a junior at Eastman. I was in the jazz ensemble there, and he was a special guest, and we played like some shit from whatever that was. So it's like that's gonna be kind of funny. I'm gonna try to remind him of that. But I've just watched his career. He's still relevant at all this time. So yeah, I mean, it's so that's a pretty big deal. I'm gonna practice for that, and just some local stuff around town. With different people. And like I say, the once a month at Smalls. I wish I could do that like twice a month. Although the drive that probably you know that would be great. But I'm not greedy. But that to me that's like I always look forward to that because I know I'm gonna be able to watch it later. I know it means something, and
That
I'm
gig is what that gig is well, is almost fuel in a sense to keep pushing to because you're
Oh,
going to
it's
get on
totally
that stage.
it's like I said, it's a test. I got to test. If I'm supposed to be Mike Boone, if I'm supposed to be this motherfucker, well, hey, okay, well, and if you did, okay, well, here you go. You got 12 times a year to prove it, or you also got 12 times a year to, as an opportunity to bring some people on. You got 12 audiences that you can, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot that can be done in that time.
Yeah,
That.
people don't understand what playing in clubs mean to us. And I don't know what your thoughts are. There are some venues that are wonderful to work with, but then there are some that are absolutely horrid. You know, but I've been actually thinking about this because I'm sure you've dealt with it on some level too. I mean, again, I feel like these are just thoughts I've been having. And I'm just asking you your opinion about them.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I'm
uh,
gonna
um,
yeah.
I feel like a lot of the people who book clubs, like the ones that don't like respond or anything, who just completely like, I feel like they're people pleasers and they're just afraid. They're just afraid to say they're afraid. They're just fearful of saying no to somebody, which would be if they're just honest and just say no or it's not the time. Because if they once they come face to face to them, which has happened to me, oh, like
Yeah, well,
hello,
yeah,
hello, but they're just it's you know what I mean. So a lot of them are just merely just fearful of people
I think
pleasing.
yeah, maybe yeah, and
Not everybody.
what are they fearful of? Because they don't know you as an artist, or like, or
They're afraid to say no and that you're gonna hate them, but they already don't like you because you're not even answering them, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, that's just being a professional. Well, as a, yeah, you're not going to make it. Well, put it this way: if you don't answer your phone and you're in another business where you need that, you're not going to make much money.
there you go.
So but that's what. But then again, they know that. Thank you. They know that there's a lot of people hitting on them. They
Mm.
know that they have a certain amount of slots to fill, and they know that there's at least 10 times the amount of qualified musicians that are at least available that are hitting on you. So they can afford to. It's not right,
I just
but I
think it's
guess they
funny,
can
like when
afford.
people are like, don't answer you or nasty, and then like you come face to face with them and you
Oh,
look them right
yeah,
in
well,
the eye. I
yeah,
think
most
that's
of
funny.
up or what? Oh, yeah, right. It's like no, but if you were like some named person,
Yeah.
get right back to you. Once again, I mean, it's the same. It's like what can you do? It's
Well, no, that's bringing me to my point. Like, just honesty
Well, whether it's on or across the board.
across the
So
board.
to go back to what's wrong with jazz, honesty.
Yeah.
Let's start with that big ass umbrella called honesty. It starts with the H and ends with a Y, and then talk about all the sub things that go with that honesty. You know how it filters down through the industry, how it filters down through academia, how it filters down through the club owner, how it filters down through the folks that are writing, through the the age demographic. Us old motherfuckers need to be honest with the young people. The young people need to be a little bit more. It's just like, I think if you know, you should. Like I say, what do I have to lose? I don't know.
I think honesty is the best, and that doesn't mean if a total stranger asks you inappropriate questions, you have to answer them. But
Right.
I just think when people, are curious about certain things, whether it's like, oh, how'd you get this gig? Or, even something as simple as that. Or can you, share me like this person's contact
I
or,
guess.
they're just like little things that just little lies that just build and build and build. And then it
Well,
explodes. But this is like reform I'm talking about. Just be honest.
it's like, if everybody, well, I mean, it's funny you mentioned that because that's what I mean. A friend of mine. I'm sorry, I keep doing that with the thing. Adam Nywood. One, you need to talk to him.
Oh yeah, I'm having dinner with him next week.
Oh, see, he's on my fucking album. He's on my last. Or he's on the album before.
Yeah, I'll see him next week. Actually, we're
Well,
having
you need
dinner
to talk
together.
to. I mean, he's another guy. He can tell. He can probably talk. We're boys. But then, why did I even mention him? Fuck, I was going somewhere with
We
that.
were talking about
Oh,
honesty.
he coined this phrase, contractual relationship, and unfortunately, the music business, and most of the subgenres in the music, I'll just say the music industry. Which business industry is is fueled on these contractual relationships. So yeah, I mean that's the problem. So it's just like there's no real honesty, there's no real like camaraderie. It's like, so everybody's trying to be a star, everybody's trying to put themselves. It's almost like everybody's crabs in this barrel, and somebody's trying to get just a little inch up. So the last thing I'm going to do is tell you who you're, this guy who is a con, guy that does this would do for anybody. They don't want to divulge information because they feel, oh, it's going to take from them. Something kicks in. Maybe that's part of human nature is to
Like
be
survival instinct.
survival. Thing. Well, no, I can't. And I remember years ago, like I was somewhere, we were in Chicago somewhere, and there's a guy that was working for a company that did commercials, did all kinds of jingles and stuff. And this guy from New York was trying to, get work and sending this stuff around. And he actually asked this guy, he said, can I send you my jingle reel so you can play your place? And the guy actually said, no, absolutely not. And just like, it was really like, this, wait a minute, they went to school together. He says, why not? He says, well, that would be competition for me.
Oh,
Flat out said that. And this was like back in the 80s. And I thought, wow. And it's like, now fast forward, it's like, yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, it's like, we're boys, but I can't do that. And maybe that wasn't even like, I mean, at least he said that. But,
at least he was honest about it,
yeah. But that's an indication that once you get yours, you got to protect yours. And
True.
the last people you really need to be involved are some people that do what you do.
Yeah.
That might even be your friends.
Yeah.
So you kind of do this other. I'm sorry. So you do this weird thing. Am I still there?
No, you're good. But Mike, we gotta wrap it up. We've been on for almost an hour. This is actually
Oh,
going to be this.
got
This
to do part two.
I know. But believe it or not, this is like you're the first person who's gone more than 45 minutes in the podcast because I wanted to like set aside time because I know I could have an honest conversation with you. So
Okay. Well, I hope I didn't mean to go crazy.
no, not at all. This was great. This was
And I hope
great. So
because I did say make sure you ask those questions. I did try to make sure I didn't jump. Usually I jump the gun a
well, no,
lot.
we're gonna do part two unquestionably. So don't even worry.
All right, yeah, because there's a lot of stuff because what you're doing, you're asking the right questions, and we're just chipping away, and it all connects.
We're
I mean,
scratching the
you're gonna have to do
surface.
some editing, but it's like I'm cool with it. I know there's a lot more that I need to get to, and I know there's a lot more you want to get to.
Oh, this is only part one.
There's only part. We may need three.
Okay.
Like I say, or maybe the third part is when I come to your crib and we play. Maybe the part, whatever. I definitely want to do the thing where we actually play because I want to hear what you sound like.
Let's do it, man.
I think
Let's
that
do
would
it.
like really kind of be like, and that would demonstrate what I'm talking about.
Well, I actually want to ask you about a certain gig, but once I stop
We'll do it
recording,
off air. We can talk about that. Yeah.
yeah, let's just say, get ready for part two.